Hi students, this is Mrs. Long from Montana, and I wanted to go over your work for today. In a few minutes, your substitute is going to be giving you a worksheet that looks just like this, and your goal is to do these order of operation problems. You're going to do half of them in class and half of them as homework. So let's take a look at this. Pretty unusual because this time I'm giving you all of the answers. Your job is going to be to take the problem and show all of the steps that would lead to this correct answer. That way, if you're coming up with something different, then hopefully you can backtrack, figure out where you went wrong, and self-correct that. So here are the steps for the order of operation. Make sure that you follow these 4 steps. And like always, I think it's best to change any addition or any subtraction problem to an addition problem before starting the order of operation. It helps to keep you from making certain mistakes. The last 10 minutes of class, the substitute is going to put the answer key up for all of the odd problems. So that's what I want you to work on in class, are this column right here, including the odd problem of this word problem in class together. Then for homework, you'll be doing this side right here, as well as the even word problem down here, number 16, and I think you'll find that a little bit familiar. So let's get started. There are a couple of things that I want us to pay close attention to. We're going to do the first one together and part of the second one. I want us to think, though, ahead of time about situations where you have exponents. Here you have a negative 6 to the 3rd power. And that is very different than when the number, the base number, is in parentheses and the exponent is outside of the parentheses. So I want you to be thinking about that. Think if you remember what the difference between these two exponent situations are, and we'll come to that when we do number 3. Okay, so you will start by doing all of this on a separate piece of paper because you obviously don't have enough room here for all of those steps, right? So you'll first start. Notice that I copied the problem exactly as it is. Even though subtracting a negative, I know I'm going to change that to addition. I just copied it exactly as it was. My first step, I'm going to change it to addition before I start the order of operation. So that's why I went 56 plus negative 90 times 2, and then I'm adding the opposite of negative 17. That's the rule for subtraction. Add the opposite. And so also remember that subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. And I hope you all said that with me just now. So then the next step is interesting because we're going to actually start right in the middle of the problem. Notice there are no grouping symbols, no exponents, and what we have to start with is step number 3, multiplying and dividing from left to right. So that's why we start right in the middle. Negative 90 times 2, that's where we get this negative 180. Notice I rewrite the whole problem each time. 56 plus a negative 180 plus 17. Now I like this problem because now I have 3 things that need to be added. Addition sign, I'm going to add these up. I could use the order of operation and go from left to right, but because it's all addition and there's no subtraction in this problem, I can use the commutative property and go in any order that I want to. And I like to put my positives together first. So I'm going to take the positive 17 and the positive 56. That's where I got my positive 73. And then I'm adding that negative 180. Now, different signs, I subtract them, and I keep the sign of the greater absolute value. That's where I got my negative 107. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one, number 3. And this one, I'm going to write this out, 3. 8 times negative 6 to the 3rd power. Write it exactly as it is. Minus a negative 100 divided by negative 20. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to change this to an addition problem. So 8 times negative 6 to the 3rd plus a positive 100 divided by my negative 20. All right, we have to start with the second step, exponents. There are no grouping symbols, so we start here. So I'm going to pull this other little piece of paper in here for a minute. When I have, let me just cover this up. when I have a negative 6 to the third power. That's very different than if I had a negative 6 to the third power. These answers are going to come out the same just because I'm doing it to the third power. But I want you to notice how they're written differently. This is only affecting the 6. This is affecting everything inside of the parentheses. So negative we write down, but it's the 6 that is getting cubed or put to the third power. On this one, negative 6 times negative 6 times negative 6. That's pretty different because in this one you have a negative times a positive, which is going to make a negative, and then you have that negative times a positive, making it negative. This ends up being, if you do those, that's 36 times 6, negative 216. Now because I have 3 numbers here, I have an odd exponent, my answer is going to be negative. In this situation, it comes out negative times a negative is a positive, and then a positive times a negative is going to put it back to being negative. So this would also be a negative. But watch what happens when I have this situation and I do it to an even integer. Even exponent. Even exponent, remember, it's only affecting what it touches. It's affecting the 6 here, not the negative. It's affecting the parentheses here, so we put everything here multiplied by itself. So this one's going to look like this. Put the negative sign, then just go 6 times 6. We squared only the 6. And on this one, we're going to square everything in the parentheses. Now we're going to end up with very different answers. When you have an even exponent, you end up with a positive answer when you have this type. So watch what happens here. Negative 6 times a positive 6 is negative 36. This one, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive 36. So notice how different it is when it has parentheses. So basically what you need to remember is that when you don't have parentheses, you are doing the exponent to what it touches, which is that number. When you have parentheses, you're using the exponent with this whole entire amount that's in parentheses. So in a situation like this, number 2, you're going to need to solve negative 21 plus 7, and you're going to end up with a negative answer in there, a negative number. But whatever that negative number is, it's going to still be inside of parentheses. You're going to treat it like this one, okay? So whatever your negative number is, you're going to keep it in parentheses, square it, and you're going to come up with a positive answer because you're squaring that. Okay, back to our business of number 3. Okay, so when you're doing this, you can just go off to the side, 6 times 6 times 6, to figure out what that is. 36 times 6 is 216. And let's rewrite this. 8 times, remember we're bringing that negative down. We have cubed the 6, or done it to the third power. And 100 divided by negative 20. Now, which step are we on up here? We had no grouping symbols. We completed the exponents. Now we move on to multiplication and division only. So adding and subtracting comes very, very last. So don't start here. You start here. You're going to go multiplication and division from left to right. Whatever comes first is done that way. So you're going to go 8 times a negative 216. You're going to get that answer, and then you're going to go 100 divided by a negative 20, get that answer, and then you'll bring that addition sign down and you'll add those 2 up. So I'm not going to do that for you, but I want you to be aware of that. Let's look ahead at any other pitfalls that you might have in doing this in class. This is just going to be 7 squared, 7 times 7. So you need to know what the answer to that is. Here, it's going to be negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. On this one, you're just going to say 4 plus 7. I hope you know that 4 plus 7 is 11. And then you'll take 11, and it'll be 11 times 11. 5 to the third power, 5 times 5 times 5. So exponents are a lot of times the places where we go wrong. So right now I want you to complete all of these in class. You will correct them, and then for homework you'll do this. And remember, you're doing a nice neat work just like this, showing every single step of the order of operation until you get your answer, and then you're going to hopefully get the same answer that's on the paper, and if not, you're able to trace your steps and correct that. All right, I will see you guys on Wednesday. I hope it goes well, and enjoy your day. Okay, bye.